Let's move on to the other one, a bit of a very interesting London derby. It's North London versus South London as Arsenal welcome Crystal Palace to this particular encounter. Let's see their numbers and then I'll speak to Rahman in a second because there's a very interesting update to that story that Rahman has a lot more detail on. Arsenal are in first place. They've won 21 games, drawn 3, lost 3, goal difference of 37. Palace, they are 12th. They've won 6, drawn 9, lost 12, a goal difference of minus 13. All these numbers have led to an interesting decision from the Palace management. They fired Patrick Vieira earlier today in a decision that not a lot of people think is surprising, but some people wonder why they've done so at this time. Rahman, if you are still on, you know a lot about these two teams, especially Palace. You cover Palace. What's the backstory to Patrick Vieira's sacking? Because that decision has caught some people off guard. Why have they pulled the plug on Vieira now, especially as they are trying to see if they can survive the league? I wonder if that's the reason why.
Yeah, well, you said it all. That's the reason why they're trying to stay in the Premier League. Palace have been in the Premier League 10 consecutive years, and they are beginning to fear that they might go down. I mean, results haven't been good since the turn of the year, and there's a feeling that this is the best time for them to change the manager. So yeah, to answer your question on why they've done that because results haven't been good. And like we always say in football, it doesn't matter how good the manager is with the fans and everything. The most important thing is the results. That's what keeps him in the job. And he's not won a league game this whole year. You can't defend that. I mean, it's hard to defend if you haven't won a league game all year. So, and yeah, it's just what it says. The final details is that if you look into the games they've played United twice this year.
Yes.
They've played Brighton twice this year. They played Newcastle. They've played an informed Brentford side. So it's kind of really adds up that they've had a really tough run. They've played Liverpool to add. So you get the feeling that if he was able to go through this difficult patch, then games against Leeds United, Leicester, West Ham, teams below them would give him a good chance of picking up points. But yeah, Parish wasn't buying that. Actually, I did a story on London World this morning explaining why he had to be sacked and how he was sacked. And Palace got to me to explain why they had to do it. And part of the reason was that the results wasn't good, and they placed a call on him to not show up for training today.
Wow, that quite extraordinary. He was asked not to show up for training. I think your story also detailed that the assistant was also told the same thing. So how are Palace fans taking it? Have you spoken to some Palace fans? How do they generally feel about the departure of Patrick Vieira?
May, if I show you my DM, like I literally have a banter with Palace fans and Tottenham fans every day about what's happening in the club and why is this decision going. The general feeling is that they like Vieira, but they love their club more. And part of the reason is that they are currently worse off points-wise than they were under Roy Hodgson. And Vieira was supposed to kickstart a new era of good football, create the image of the club where it becomes a club that it's the bedrock of all talents. Now, if you go through the history of London, South London produces some of the best footballers. Yeah. But in recent years, it hasn't been so. Cobham, where Chelsea's training ground is located, has an attraction for a lot of young players. So that's where Callum Hudson-Odoi, Conor Gallagher, and all these players came through. But they want to reposition the club, playing a brand of football that young people will want to be there. And that was the thinking behind employing Vieira. But the primary job was to keep the team punching above their weight. Now, last season, it was exceptional. They made it to the last 4 of the FA Cup. They had 48 points. That's just one short of their all-time record of 49 points in the Premier League. But this season, it's all gone backward. You can make a point about some of the players that left the club, like Connor, Cheikhou Kouyaté, James McArthur, who was injured, even Christian Benteke. All these players haven't been adequately replaced. But the board can also point and say, well, we brought you Cheikh Decore, we brought in Lokonga, And we expect that every year on, we shouldn't be battling relegation. They became the first club in Premier League history to go 3 games without a shot on target until Brighton. They lost to Brighton for the first time at the Amex since 2018. They normally don't lose to Brighton.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in Crystal Palace tradition, losing to Brighton is a no-no.
Exactly. So there are a lot of things that have come to really hurt Vieira at a very crucial point. So, yeah, the club have a duty to do what's best for them and retain the club. They're only 3 points off relegation as we speak. The interesting thing is that it doesn't even look like they have a plan because they brought in Paddy to steer the ship. But there's been talk, especially in the last 4 or 5 hours, that they're trying to bring in Roy Hodgson, was the former manager. If you're bringing in Roy...
Wow, that's an interesting development.
Exactly. What does it say about your planning? If you're bringing in Roy after deciding to do away with Roy's style of football, you're bringing him in. Is it for short term or he's going to be the manager going forward? So a lot of decisions, a lot of difficult questions that needs to, but I mean, that's what comes with the job. And I'm told that Vieira is quite really calm. We expect that he will, as everything settles, he will try as much as possible to then actually send a tweet or explain how he's feeling and wish the club well. So we'll see.
Okay. All right, Roman, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. It's always fun talking to you, and not the best. We'll catch up very soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. Okay, safe. All right, so that was Roman Osman. He's in London, works with londonworld.com. He's one of their sports reporters, giving us a very interesting backstory to Patrick Vieira's departure from Crystal Palace. That was announced about 4 or 5 hours ago, that the former Arsenal captain, former Juventus player, former Man City player was leaving. A former manager of OGC Nice was leaving Palace. Effectively, he has been sacked because the run was poor. We'll take a very quick break. This is the Premier League preview show. When we come back, I take thoughts on the guys. We talk about Arsenal because there are 2 teams in this equation. There's Palace and Arsenal. We'll talk about the 2 teams quickly and proceed with the program. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV.